Alright there everyone, how's it going? So, welcome to Cole's Combat Talk. So, today I will be covering Mike Tyson versus Roy Jones Jr. and general other stuff going on within mostly boxing and MMA, just combat really, but yeah, boxing and MMA. So, let's talk about this then, my predictions. It's a really strange fight, to be honest. Yeah. I don't know if I've mentioned it in any of my previous videos where I've talked about MMA predictions or a post-fight analysis, even though I haven't done many of them. But I don't really like old people fighting. I think it's a bit daft, really, and a bit weird. They've got more than enough money. Well, if they generate enough interest for people to want to watch them, they're a well-known name. They probably do have more than enough money to live on and retire on, but I suppose some of them have just pissed it up the wall. But I do doubt that Roy Jones Jr. and Mike Tyson have pissed their money that they've got now up the wall. So, I'm not really too keen on it. I definitely won't be paying for this. I mean, I don't pay for most boxing pay-per-views. I don't want to pay, because the problem is a lot of the undercards are a bit crap, and the only good thing is the main event, and they're very, very overpriced in my opinion. But yeah, but let's get into this anyway. So Mike Tyson, he had an exhibition bout in 2006, and before that he fought Kevin McBride and someone else, and those fights were really trash. But I have watched the Kevin McBride fight, and it was just really strange and bizarre, to be honest. A friend of mine did mention how, because I said to him, "Oh, Mike's looking good on the pads now. Look at him, he's looking good on the pads." And he was like, "Yeah, but he was looking good on the pads in 2004, and Kevin McBride still." Well, I wouldn't say he wrecked. Well, he did wreck him, but Mike just was a total shell of his former self. He was just like, it was bizarre. I mean, he wasn't even really getting hit that much, and then he just sat on the floor and just didn't do anything. So it was just really, really strange. It just seemed like he didn't want to fight anymore. In general, not like, not in the fight. I'm sure if he could have done, he would have continued. But I mean, the fight game he probably just had enough, which is fair enough. Then he did that exhibition bout in 2006 and against this really fat dude and won that with ease. But Roy has been really, really active, hasn't he? For years and years now. I mean, when was his last fight? I think his last fight was 2018. I can't remember exactly. And I mean, he was fighting bums, but he's still getting wins, I suppose. And yeah, I mean, thing is with him, he does rely heavily on his reactions. And as you get older, your reactions do slow down. But with Mike Tyson, it's like I'm not saying what made him successful was his speed and power, but you don't lose speed and power, and speed and power was a big part of his game. Obviously, footwork, reactions with his head movement, those are big parts of his game. But I feel like you can keep the speed and power more so than you can keep reactions. And the way Roy fights, man, like with his hands down, messing around. Again, there are only a select few that can do that in their prime, but when you get to like 51, you're not really going to be able to do that sufficiently anymore, are you? I mean, but yeah, his last fight was nearly 3 years ago, like February 8th, 2018. So, and he went for 10 rounds in that fight, so it's fair play to him. But again, Mike Tyson, man, I know my mate did tell me, as I say, Mike looked good on the pads in 2004, but I can just see him being able to knock out Roy Jones Jr. I can just see him being able to get the TKO or KO, to be honest. Mike it's weird with Mike, because on the JRE he was like, saying that he doesn't want to train anymore, he doesn't want to be this egotistical madman who's like, this angry, tough guy who just beats people up and fuels his ego from training. Not word for word, but along those lines. But then he's come back to train, and when I first saw him come back to train, I was like, oh, this is brilliant, fair play. But now that he wants to fight again, it's like, I don't know. I just hope both guys, well, let's be real, neither of them are going to come out of it unscathed, are they? But I hope they don't take a ridiculous amount of damage, either of them. I really just hope they can come out of it As I say, without too much damage. So, yeah. Mike Tyson, TKO. Well, actually, no. KO, second round. That's what I think. There's another fight on there. Jake Paul versus Nate Robinson. Really, really bizarre. This is just for Jake Paul to get another win under his belt. I suppose it's also done so the pay-per-view can sell. If they had like a norm... Well, thing is, nowadays with boxing... I'm assuming it's the same in America and Canada and other countries. But years and years ago, the pay-per-views were for free in the UK, and everyone was talking about boxing. If you talk to someone, they used to know about boxing back in the day, but now they don't know as much about it because the pay-per-views are just an absolute, utter rip-off. So, but if it did attract those old people from years ago who knew Mike Tyson, knew Roy Jones Jr., then they might be interested in watching. So, but actually, I suppose with that point I was trying to make, then it doesn't matter what the co-main event is, does it? But I was going to say, like, they're going to want to make it as much of a circus show as possible, because I guess it can appeal to YouTube people. They'll watch for Jake Paul, because Jake Paul's a very... he's just, a bit of a controversial guy. A lot of people don't like him, so they'll either want to see him get his ass kicked, or his fans will want to see him win, and then you'll have, Nate Robinson fans watching, and then you'll have old boxing fans watching Mike and Roy Jones Jr., and then you'll obviously have new boxing fans who just love boxing wanting to watch it. So it's just a mad cash cow, I suppose. If the main event is just two people you've never heard of, then people aren't going to be as bothered, I suppose. But most people are just going to be buying it for Roy and Mike Tyson. And Nate Robinson, though, he's athletic, a basketball player, so yeah, he'll probably do all right. He's used to working hard. He's used to putting the work in. So, but Jake Paul has had fights before. I mean, the Deji fight was tragic, to be honest with you. Deji won the first 2 rounds, made Jake's nose bleed, and Jake and his brother Logan was wrestlers in high school, so they'd used to be cutting weight, cutting the water out of their body and sweating it out. And I reckon Jake was probably, well, they're weighed in at 85 kg. I reckon he was probably... Or that might have been 84 kg, I can't remember. Point is, I think he was probably in the... He had to be at least 197, 198 pounds on fight night. And Deji, he didn't even look like a bulky 85 kg. He just looked a bit chubby and out of shape. And he still took it to him quite a bit. I mean, Jake Paul tries to say, there was just... The punches weren't hard. They were just like little taps and everyone was going mad then. And when I landed big shots, the audience was like, they weren't that bothered. But, mate, he still made your nose bleed and he still won the first 2. You were supposed to absolutely destroy him. And that's why a lot of people, including myself, thought Gib would have beaten him, but Gib was just... He kept doing weird squats and it was bizarre, and then he wasn't really moving his head that much, even though he was squatting loads, and he was standing like... The first knockdown, I'm pretty sure the first or second, I can't remember exactly, he stood square, and I'm thinking, what the hell are you doing? Because, all it takes is a couple fingers, a finger to push you when you're standing square, then you go off balance. So it's like, what the hell is going on? What on earth are you doing? So those were some bad boxing fundamentals there. But Jake has Sugar Shane Mosley in his corner, so... I shouldn't have underestimated Sugar Shane Mosley's training. It's just because Jake performed so badly in the previous one, and Vidal, he's a very, very good coach. So, yeah, I just thought they would have won. But again, Gibbs way smaller than Jake as well. So, Nate Robinson and Jake, I'd imagine they're around the same size, but... Jake's just going to get another win, and I wonder where he goes from there. Probably fights KSI. And then that's the end of YouTube boxing, unless both guys want to do it professionally. I mean, maybe Jake does, I don't know. I don't really watch his YouTube channel much at all, really. I don't know. If he's not uploading to YouTube much and just focusing on boxing loads, then fair play if he wants to be a pro. But if he's trying to do loads of YouTube stuff and loads of boxing and trying to do it while he's in training camp, I don't really see him getting that far, if I'm being brutally honest. So he needs to be very serious with this, because people can't be playing, at boxing. They need to be taking it very, very serious, because you can get seriously hurt. My prediction, Jake Paul, 3rd round TKO. That's what I think will happen. Let's talk about Sebastian Formella versus Conor Ben. A pretty fun fight, in my opinion. Both guys came to fight. They kept coming forward. A lot of combination punches from each guy. It felt like Formella was really hoping that Conor Ben would just gas out. Conor Benn hadn't been in the ring for a year, but he'd been on a 2-fight finishing streak, so that's pretty good. Couldn't get the finish in this one, which I was surprised about, but Formella's a pretty formidable opponent, you know. The only loss he had was to Sean Porter. So, yeah, it is a massive fair play to Conor Benn, though, because, I mean, the hand speed was amazing. The hand speed and the power was brilliant. He did an alright job at walking him down. He landed some good combinations. His head movement was decent. But it seemed like when Formella did want to come forward with combination punches of his own, it seemed like Benn was just eating quite a few and going back as well. But for the most part, Benn won. Well, he was winning quite a few exchanges. He was firing the jab from the hip, which obviously makes it a lot more difficult to read. But you know, you're more so open to be hit. So, but yeah, he did very, very well. And fair play, both guys really tough. Both guys have great chins. Massive fair play right there. Now on to the UFC fight night. So UFC 252. So yeah, decent. You know, nothing like amazing or anything, but decent card overall. Let's think then. What fight to talk about first? Joaquin Buckley versus Jordan Wright. Cool fight. Jordan Wright was doing a good job at defending himself. You know, he kept his hands up. He was throwing some decent kicks. You know, front kicks. He landed a good head kick on Joaquin Buckley. Joaquin doesn't really seem to, like, when the head kick... I mean, one head kick was thrown his way and he just sort of leaned to the side a bit and didn't really move his hand up, and then that other head kick was thrown. He sort of leaned to the side a bit, leaned back, I suppose, and the kick caught him slightly. But then it just seemed to, you know, make Joaquin want to come forward even more. And yeah, for the most part, like what Joaquin was doing, he was coming forward, and he was either coming forward loads and clinching, coming forward loads and landing hooks. Sometimes he threw a few left straights and one right jab in the second round. He didn't nearly finish it at the end of the first. But it was pretty much over after that, really. In the second round, Jordan Wright just got destroyed straight away. Fair play to Joaquin, though. Massive fair play to him. It'd be cool to see him have a rematch against Kevin Holland. That'd be great fun. I thought Jordan Wright might have tried to have taken it to the ground because he's got okay grappling, but he didn't want to. But yeah, fair play to Joaquin for beating two undefeated fighters, because the previous fighter he fought was undefeated, and now this guy's undefeated. This guy was undefeated before he lost to him. So yeah. Next fight I want to talk about is Carl Dorcas versus Dustin Stoltzfus. Pretty decent fight. I was just a bit confused why Carl Dorcas kept wanting to go to the clinch so much. Dustin seemed, you know, like the grappling was kind of competitive. Like, he did nearly line up a leg lock against him, and he did manage to push Carl Dorcas against the fence a few times, and he was landing them slaps to the ear, them open palm slaps to the ear. But apart from that, Carl Dorcas was winning pretty much everything. But yeah, I just felt like Carl Dorcas should have kept it standing a lot more and worked to his advantages, rather than, like, you know, making it somewhat competitive in the grappling. Like, Carl Dorcas is an amazing grappler, and Dustin seemed pretty good as well, but it was definitely more competitive there. In the striking, Carl Dorcas was just absolutely running away with it. Just phenomenal, landing great combinations, backing Dustin up really easily. Really easy. Yeah, so fair play to him. Shevchenko versus Lipski. I'm trying to think now what happened in that one. Lipski was losing a bit in the stand-up, I think, and then she just got taken down, and I think Shevchenko went for a whizzer, and she was stuck in there for ages. Not a whizzer, sorry. She did a judo throw, and then she was stuck in a headlock for ages. And she managed to get out, get Shevchenko's back, and people thought, oh, it's going to be competitive. And then Shevchenko just sort of beat her up, and then ground and pounded her in the second round, took her down, and yeah, the rest is history. Brandon Mourinho versus Brandon Royval. Bloody hell, that was absolutely fantastic. Loved it. Competitive stand-up then on the ground. It was awesome. Mourinho, he kept going for the rear naked chokes, and Royval managed to get out of it. But then eventually his shoulder popped, and I was like, what's going on? And Mourinho was like, hammer fisting him loads and loads and loads and loads, and the ref had to stop it. So, cool fight, both guys, a lot of heart, fair play. That was, really cool. Paul Craig versus Shogun, who I mean, fair play to Craig. He utilised the grappling a lot in this one, which made Rua hesitant to throw the kicks, which is a big part of his game. And Paul Craig was just wrecking him really. Managed to take him down and flatten him out, and just hit him loads to the side of the head. And that was it really. That was over and done with. Chikagian versus Carvillo, Cynthia Carvillo. Chikagian was just pretty much outstriking her for the whole thing. That's all that happened really. Just insane volume, insane work rate. Fair play to her. Tim Means versus Mike Perry. Man, Perry, as much as he's a funny banterous guy, what the hell was all that burger stuff about, man? What the hell was he playing at? I mean, I know he's a pretty crazy guy, but I swear before, I remember for one of his fights, Bisping was going on about how Perry was saying, I'm going to go and have a smoothie because I'm not cutting weight for this fight, or I'm only cutting like 3 pounds. Okay, mate, fair play. But then with this fight, he's like eating burgers and really far away, like just really not in the optimal weight that he should be in. Well, not in the right weight before he's cutting, I'm guessing. Isn't it like, wasn't he like 20 pounds overweight a few weeks before the weigh-in? Can't remember, but yeah, fair play to Tim Means. Tim Means was just, landing great straight punches on him, amazing jab. The only time in the fight when he was losing was when Perry was making him fight his fight and get in the pocket. That was the only time he was really losing. I think Perry was attempting a rear naked choke in the first round. I can't remember. Or he had his back or something. That was it really. Those were the only times Perry did well. Apart from that, Perry was just absolutely wrecking him. So yeah, fair. I mean, not Perry, sorry, Means was absolutely wrecking him. So fair play. Perry, I don't know what the hell he's gonna do now at this point. To be honest, I mean, missing weight by that much. I know he went on about fighting Darren Till at middleweight, but come on, if you ain't winning the fights, mate, what are you? I mean, I mean, Perry just needs to get his act together. That's all I can say, really. Now, Valentina Shevchenko versus Jennifer Maia. Valentina's pretty much winning all the fights apart from round 2. She was winning the whole thing. I don't really see why the commentators were trying to say. I mean, it was a lot of grappling in the fight. There's a bit of stand-up. I don't know why they were thinking she was getting tired. I don't know why they were making a big deal out of Jennifer Maia's offense when, like, Shevchenko would land more punches than Maia would come back with one right hand. And then they'd be like, oh, what an amazing right hand. Or if she was getting hit loads by Valentina Shevchenko, they'd be like, oh, toughness, amazing chin. And it's like, hold on, what about the person who just landed those punches on that amazing chin? It's fine to compliment someone's great chin and whatever, but you also have to compliment and realise, well, be able to, say that the punch has done well as well. So, but Shevchenko just absolutely wrecked her, to be fair. Davison Figueiredo versus Alex Perez. Very even in the stand-up. I'd say Perez was winning slightly. It all changed when, we all know, the eye poke from Davison Figueiredo. And it all changed from there. He threw the big right hand, Perez ducked, went for the single leg. Figueiredo was, holding on to the fence a few times, which is a bit dirty. And then he let go of the fence and then went for that judo scissor sweep type thing. But then he transitioned to a leg lock, which was absolutely brilliant. He's just so well-rounded, man. It's a bit uncool that he did the eye poke. It looked quite intentional because he stuck his hand and his fingers out while they were went because they got close with each other, got in close, and then he stuck his fingers out. So it looked a bit intentional, and the fence grabs were a bit uncool. Perez did well. When Perez used the fence, he did it fair. I'm pretty sure he didn't like grab the fence or anything because he was using the fence to balance to get out of the leg lock and then sit on Figueiredo's leg. But then he was sort of like I don't know the exact position, but it was sort of like a half guard position. I'm pretty sure, or something. I don't know. And yeah. He was in a weird position, and then Figueiredo tried to get the guillotine on him, and I thought, how is he going to get him inside his guard? Then he put his foot, his left foot under Perez's right leg, and flipped him up a bit, and kept him in the guillotine. Then managed to get him in his guard, and then just yanked the neck, and then Perez actually sat up a bit, but then he had to tap out, and it's a massive fair play from Figueiredo, to be honest. Absolute utter beast. Bit of a shame with the eye poke and the fence grab, as I say, but yeah, just insanely well-rounded. There's just little things that he needs to improve with the striking, but his striking was pretty decent. Bit confusing, he went out southpaw at first because Perez is a great kicker. But I suppose he just wanted to try and get Perez in the liver, I guess. I don't really understand, but there you go, it's Figueiredo's choice. And with the big right hand he threw, he really should have set that up or something, because he only just missed it really. If he had set that up with something, a feint or whatever, he probably would have landed. I mean, he's just a beast, man. So yeah, that's the first episode of Cole's Combat Talk. Hopefully you all enjoyed. Hopefully I'll do a few more of these. Sorry if I'm getting little tiny details in the fights wrong, or big details. There's a lot to remember, but I'll probably try and make some notes. I remember when I watch them, but then afterwards I think, what happened? So, hopefully I'll do more of these, and that's all I've got to say, really. Thanks for watching, and see ya.